Hello, my name is Wade Nomura, and this is Rotary Serving Our Community. This year, over New Year's, I had the opportunity to work with the Float Committee, and this is the Rotary Rose Parade Float Committee. And with us today, we have a special guest, Ray Bushnell. Ray, welcome.
Wade, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living? And
I run a printing and mailing service, primarily helping nonprofits with fundraising and marketing, branding. And I've been involved with Rotary since 1990, and I've been on the Float Committee for about 20 years.
Wow. So how'd you get involved with Rotary?
These guys I played racquetball with.
Oh, really?
They 5 or 6 of them are always talking about Rotary, invited me to a few meetings, and it just seemed like a great idea, and so here I am.
Good, good. And the club that you belong to, because you're from down south, right?
Yeah, I'm from Arcadia. Is
Arcadia,
my home club.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, got it.
Started out there and stayed there ever since.
So tell me how you got involved with the actual Float Committee.
Well, Conrad von Bibra called me up one day. He's a PDG from 5300 from our district, and he wanted to talk to me about how I could help Rotary and get more involved. He didn't give me anything real specific. And he came out and we had a meeting at my office, and he pitched this thing very eloquently and talked about how important it is to promote Rotary, and that he thought I could make a big impact, a bigger impact than I was making with my club alone. And at the very end of it, he said, what I'm talking about is the Rose Parade. And I said, oh, well, okay. And so I got involved just as a committee member for a few years, went on the board, and I was actually chair of the committee for the 2008 float.
Wow. Okay, great, great. Now, as far as Rotary and the float, tell us a little bit how those relate. Now, is the float your primary project that you do for Rotary, or do you do other projects also?
I'm very involved with the float. That's I do a little bit of stuff with my club, but the float is very big to me. I spend a lot of time on that. The marketing of it, we're marketing to all of North America, the USCB region, and so it's a lot. It's about 8,000 clubs, and so we're putting the marketing materials together. It's a year-round job. It's not just a matter of
definitely so. Actually, beyond a year's job, it keeps going and going and going.
Actually,
doesn't it?
Does. Yeah.
Well, I got a rendering here that you brought with us. Tell us a little bit about this one, and go ahead and show that one here to the audience.
This is from the 2017 float. It's a traveling dragon. We've got some spectacular floral presentation on here. And on this traveling dragon, we've got the 6 areas of focus that Rotary's primarily working on around the world.
Okay.
This float had some animation to it. The tail moved back and forth. The eyelids fluttered. There was a smoke blast out of his nose.
And how do you actually select the rendering? In other words, I believe this is one of a set of maybe 60 that we saw as a committee, right?
That's correct.
And then you pick out the one that you want from Phoenix Company, right?
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly. Phoenix Decorating is our builder, and they present to us some ideas in a wide variety of ways. And this one was a whimsical rendition of a message that we could send. It's important from a float standpoint that the float look nice. That gets us attention. You know, the hope is that we've got something that's very attractive, that people won't turn away from and look at what's next, but they'll really be focused on that. And this certainly did it. I mean, this was a very colorful piece, and it really captured the attention of
So I see the baggage has the 6 pictures right there with the areas of focus. Those are the Rotary Foundation's view of improving humanity. You have the float with the globe in front, but where did the dragon come from?
You know, the dragon was a kind of a mythical creature, just a traveling dragon. He's friendly. He's got a nice smile on his face. He's got the medallion for the 100 years of the Rotary Foundation around his neck. It's the idea really behind the whole parade is that it's a fantasy,
Right.
and this is just one piece of the overall view of the parade theme, which was Echoes of Success. And certainly our foundation's been successful, and hopefully the dragon made it around the world and doing good.
Very true. Well, let's jump into some of the pictures, because we want to take the actual rendering, into the actual float itself. So the first picture we have is a picture of the construction of the float. This was, I believe, one of the work nights where we had interactors or high school kids working.
Yeah, the interactors are a huge part of our volunteer force.
Okay.
We have usually about 800 volunteers, usually about 6,000 man hours on decorating. And it's everything from slicing up flowers to actually gluing stuff on the float. The entire float at the end of the beginning of the parade, actually at the end of the building sessions, has to be covered completely with organic materials. There can be no inorganic materials or metals or anything showing.
Okay.
And that's what our interactors do, and other volunteers from clubs around the region.
Okay. Next picture we have, again, is a larger view showing some of the workforce there. I believe we had as many as 60 people working, sometimes on one shift.
Yes.
Each minute then. That's amazing.
Towards the end, the shifts get longer. They work actually around the clock, 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. And the next picture we have shows a picture of the, I guess if some of our committee members putting the sign back on. It's the Rotary Foundation sign there.
Yeah, the foundation sign was actually made out of a rice background with blueberries. That's the Rotary part of it. And then there were lentils and beans on the Rotary wheel.
Got it. And the significance was that this year was the 100-year anniversary of the Rotary Foundation.
Yes,
correct?
2017 marks 100 years of the foundation.
Very nice. Next picture we have shows the saddlebags. The saddlebags on the back of the drag, and along with, you talked about the symbols on that one. So that one there, was that, I would say since it's a picture, how did you convey the message of what those symbols represented?
Yeah, the messaging is also carried forward by the commentators on TV and any other materials that we distribute to Rotary clubs and to other people around. So the idea for that messaging is probably more internal than external.
Okay.
So they did talk about on some of the networks about the 6 areas of focus that Rotary is currently involved.
So actually, you do give scripts out to the media. Then there's media packages specific with that message.
We do,
Okay.
and it's up to the media to kind of interpret that. Sometimes we get more time, sometimes we get less,
Sure.
but they usually do a very good job of representing exactly what Rotary is about.
Great, outstanding. Next picture we have is a picture of the president, John German, and his wife, Judy, showing off the T-shirts. So you actually put them to work, is what I've heard.
They did do some work, absolutely. Yeah. The president always has a very full schedule, but particularly around the Rose Parade, they do a lot of stuff, and that includes some of the decorating on the float itself.
That is great. By the way, in the background, I think that's my van back there, right?
I believe it is.
He drives the president around. He gets the VIP on that one. The next picture we have is of the float, I believe, as it was getting finished, right? Is this close to the actual completion?
That's very close to being done. Yes, the scaffolding has all been removed, and it's really coming together. The colors are really popping, and,
Right.
and this is very close to done. It's still in the barn, as you can see from the background, but yeah, it's close, very close.
That is good. Now, what's unique I found out about the floats is that they actually do a color of the float itself when it's still in the foam stage. So I could identify what colors are going to be changed to what and where the flowers go. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Exactly. It's almost like a paint by number.
Exactly.
At the end of the
But you put flowers on.
Yeah.
And then the next picture shows the president and his wife actually sitting where they were seated during the parade itself.
Mm-hmm.
And could you tell us a little bit about how they fit, how that was significant to where they sat on that float?
They were up in the front and leading, as the president does with Rotary, leading our organization. And it's become a tradition. A few years ago, or going way back in time, sometimes we didn't have any walkers, riders, or anything. Right. And it's become a tradition, and I think it's great. The involvement of the Rotary president as a leader is
Agreed.
Really important.
I worked the first year we had one on was Kellyan Banerjee. And because of since that time, I think every president's been on that float. So
I think it would be a tradition from this point forward.
I believe that is correct. That is great. Next picture we have actually is of the judging. And so tell us a little bit about the judging process, because that's, I would say, pretty well scripted. They definitely hold tight to their schedules.
They do, yeah. The judging panel is actually comprised of people from the Tournament of Roses, and they have criteria they're looking for, entertainment value, and beauty, use of flowers. There's about 24 awards, I believe, that are possible. And they'll look at how the riders and walkers fit in, to the overall theme of the float. And there's a fairly involved set of criteria that they look at
Okay.
to award a float.
Good. And this is judged by different judges each year. So somebody selects those judges. The criteria seems to be a little bit different each and every year.
That's correct.
Okay. And they also do a pre-judge where they actually look at the flowers themselves the day before. And then this one here is actually as a completed one.
Yeah, I think they've got up to 4 rounds if they need it.
Okay.
So they take a vote after rounds. I think they have up to 4.
Well, what we have, want to cut to this real quickly though. We have a little video showing the actual judging itself and how that goes all the way up until a bell that rings, signifying that's the end of it. And it's, I would say, very formal and very official. So with that, let's cut to that real quick. At the end of that one, when we took a look at that, would you actually at the float judging itself?
No, I wasn't there that day.
Okay, okay. Which was, I would say, pretty impressive. It seemed like there was a hint that they enjoyed the float.
Sure.
A little bit of smiling going on, a little more clapping than usual.
I understand that there was some applause.
Right, which is not traditional, not standard. Okay, the next picture we have actually is on the float day, early morning. This is probably taken about 6 o'clock in the morning. Still freezing cold over there. I don't know how you guys live in that kind of cold weather there. But we were staging in at that time, and actually KTLA came in and did an interview with the president. I don't know if you got to see some of the footage.
I have seen some of that, yes.
Okay.
Very impressive.
And at that time, they were actually taking a look at the float right in front of us, which was the sweepstakes winner, the Dole float. And the girl came over, the reporter came over, and she goes, actually, do you know where the people are for the Dole float? And I says, I don't, but this is the Rotary float. And she goes, well, we'll talk about this, but you guys won an award. I go, we won the Princess Award. And she says, well, I'm really supposed to be doing that float over there, but tell us a little bit about this. And so I asked her, she goes, well, actually, I'm a Rotarian. So we hooked her that way. I go, well, this is the international president. You probably want to interview him. So that's how we got the airtime on that one.
Excellent.
Great. And then the next picture we have actually is a float coming down the parade route. Actually very impressive because you had the smoke coming out of the nose and the eyes are blinking. Now, were you actually at the float, the parade itself?
I was.
Did you view it? Okay.
Yeah, we were in the VIP grandstands.
Okay.
Right there.
And what did you think?
Oh, it's excellent.
Oh, yeah,
excellent.
it was.
a very good parade. Overall, I think it was one of the best.
Agreed. I think so too. And then the next picture we have actually shows the Princess Trophy. And so tell us a little bit about that. What is the Princess Trophy?
The Princess Trophy is awarded for the most beautiful float under 35 feet. So there are size classifications of floats up to 55 feet.
Okay.
So our float is in the 35-foot category, and the Princess Trophy is actually named after the Rose Princesses.
Ah, okay.
And although they don't judge it, the regular judging crew does this. They've got this Princess Trophy is for the most beautiful float under 35 feet.
Great. And I thought I'd bring this up also for you. What's the trophy look like?
Well, the trophy, there is no bowling trophy or softball trophy. The banner is actually the award.
Signifies the award.
Yeah, and it's more just a figure of.
Exactly. I did bring a picture with us on the bottom there that shows what we do get. So each year the committee receives a framed picture of the actual float itself. So
Yeah, that's very nice.
nice.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
a very nice
I've
one.
got mine hanging in my office, and it's one of my most treasured possessions. Yeah.
I brought mine here to the studio. Hopefully we could see it, but those things weigh a lot, by the way.
They
They're
do.
pretty heavy. I'm glad you don't have to move it. The next picture we have is one of the walkers, and it shows her with a suitcase, I believe, made out of cardboard, with the End Polio Now sign on that. So tell us a little bit about how that tied into the theme.
Well, the foundation has been instrumental in the eradication of polio, and the End Polio Now campaign will stay in force until polio is eradicated.
Okay.
And so symbolizing the travels that people have done, the immunization days that they've done, these travelers kind of fit in. All of the people that were involved on walking or riding on the float were dressed in a costume of local places, and so the End Polio Now is an additional way to kind of extend the footprint of the float and get an important message across to the public.
Got it. So again, part of the efforts of the foundation itself is being, well, End Polio Now is their #1 objective.
Yeah.
Good. And you said that the walkers and riders are actually in international costume. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how did they select that, or how were they selected to do that?
Each walker picked their own area that they wanted to focus on, and created their own costume, and brought that as part of their their contribution to the float.
Got it. Okay. So that was on their own dollar. That either they found one or had to rent one.
It was, yes. Yeah.
It was a nice touch, by the way. It looked great.
Oh, thanks.
It really does show Rotary's international efforts. So I like that one. The next picture we have actually is part of a footage that came from KTLA 5, which covered the float for us. Now this year, very unique is that we had our float covered by just about every major network. Oftentimes we end up on the cutting floor behind an advertisement or commercial break.
It can happen, yeah. And that's this particular float was among the most beautiful we've had.
Yeah.
And the fact that we did win the Princess Trophy gives us a little bit of extra airtime. You know, they do generally cover very well all the award winners. And this particular picture that you're talking about right here, this is right at the corner, and there's about 700,000 people that line the parade route. And I've never ridden on the float or walked along with it, but I understand that at that turn where you look down the boulevard, down Colorado Boulevard, and you just see this mass of people there. It's very inspiring.
It is impressive, to say the least. It is definitely something you will never forget. Yeah, it is. We got to get you on the float one of these times then.
Yeah.
You're going to have to ride it. You worked this hard. You earned
The
it.
committee has definitely extended the offer. I haven't taken
Good to hear.
advantage of it.
Good to hear. And then with KTLA, also ABC, I heard, and their affiliates covered it also quite well. So
They did.
That
We
was-
got
that
about a
was nice.
3-minute featurette where they had taken some footage off-site, off the parade site, and worked that in with it as well.
Good. Now tell me this. We look at an audience of close to, I think the television audience is about 70 million people, close to that.
It's actually 70 million households.
Wow,
So there could be more than one person in a
Okay,
household
okay.
watching. So
So with that kind of time, Rotary couldn't have gone wrong with what it cost them. So
no, absolutely not. It's a great value.
it is a huge value. Outstanding. Next picture we have is a picture of the actual committee. This is the evening before, usually is the case of the parade itself. So tell us a little about the committee. How is that comprised? Who serves on that?
The committee exists and has existed for years, since the Wilshire Club first envisioned putting a float in the parade. And the committee consists of a board of directors that's in charge of governing the actual committee itself, and also advisors. The districts that are made up from San Diego to up here to Santa Barbara area and out to Vegas. There's about 6 districts there. All of those committees all of those districts, I'm sorry, are represented on the committee, as well as some national advisors from around the country. Okay. So the committee can be very large. We have subcommittees that work on, like I do on the marketing. There's a subcommittee that works on the design, selecting the design, and also the committee dinner that we have. There's another section that works on that. So it's very involved. It's we meet once a month.
A lot of moving parts then.
A lot of moving parts on that committee, yes, sir.
Well, that is good. So this is actually probably just a small portion of the committee itself then.
It is. These are the people that actually attended the dinner.
The dinner.
That was
Okay.
that night, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, one thing that's very unique about it, the committee also hosts what's called the International Summit. So tell us, just a real quick one, what is that one, the International President's Summit?
The International President's Summit is very powerful, and the committee does host that, like you said. It's made up of the presidents from Lions, Kiwanis, Optimist, and Rotary. And they have an opportunity to meet at a private venue. We had it at the Huntington Gardens this year. And they can discuss basically whatever they want. It's one of the only times that these 4 organizations are able to meet in something like this. That's why we've grown to call this the summit. And the philanthropic power of the 4 organizations, foundations, is enormous. And the amount of volunteer manpower that they represent is just, it's astonishing.
Wow, that is impressive. So you say it takes a whole year, actually probably more than that, to organize this specific event. Tell us how it's funded.
The funding comes from primarily the seed funding. The startup funding comes from the 6 Rotary districts that are in Southern California. And then we go out to every other club from Canada and all across the United States. And we have a fundraising effort.
Okay.
No money comes from Rotary International, although they do support this, and they help us a great deal. The funding really comes from clubs and districts that understand the real value of promoting Rotary and how important that is on a global scale.
Wow. So we're talking, and by the way, what's the cost of that, something like this?
Well, the average float in the Rose Parade is $250,000. Our float this year was about $150,000. So we're below the average of what some organizations spend on that. And then we've got some other marketing costs, and so we had about a $200,000 budget this year.
About a $200,000 budget. Again, that's all privately funded.
Yes, sir.
No assistance from Rotary International. And $200,000 for that much airtime internationally, that's a huge...
If you had to buy that, you couldn't...
you couldn't touch
no.
it. You couldn't touch it. The last one we have actually is a flyer showing some information on the float itself, the amount of people it's reached in households, and some of the fundraising efforts, along with a quote from President John Germ. So tell us a little bit about the committee. Now, how does the committee structure to actually try and fundraise this? Are there separate ways? or is it something where it's just all ask?
We've got a lot of different things that we do. Some districts will actually raise money to put a rider on the float or a walker. That's there are some people who just absolutely would adore to ride the float, and they're sometimes difficult to find, but they've been in recent years have been a bigger part of our fundraising effort than they were in the early days. Also, clubs understand the value of membership opportunities and for people to just know a little bit more about Rotary. We all do a lot of things for public relations. You know, we wear our Rotary pins, we've got signs in front of the city, you know, welcome to your city, and there's a sign of the service organizations there. And those are all efforts, just like this is. So it's interesting, the membership applications increase for Rotary in times when Rotary is more in the public eye. And that doesn't mean that every club is going to get a new member because we had a float, but it's interesting that applications do go up at a time when there's more activity in the media.
True. Well, actually, I heard of a number of occasions where people saw the float and actually looked for Rotary clubs. And when I say that, there's quite a few that I've heard of out there from different clubs saying that, you know what, they came looking for us because of the float they saw in the message.
Yeah, that's great.
So that is huge. And unfortunately, we can't measure that. We have no idea.
Very difficult to measure.
It really is. But there again, the float itself, some people ask why, but I think it puts it out on an international platform for people to see, along with the message.
It does. PR is, you know, it's like you said, it's very difficult to measure, but it's extremely important. I'll give you an example. The milk board, I think it's the milk board, had a float in the parade this year. Everybody's heard of milk.
Yeah.
You know, they're not getting any new customers because they put a float out there. It's just important to elevate your organization on a global scale and remind people that you're there, and that's what we've done.
Well, thank you very much, Ray, for your time and effort, by the way. Sure appreciate it.
Certainly, Wade.
Outstanding float. Again, congratulations to you and the committee for all the great work you've done.
Well, thank you so much.
And again, well, we'll be in touch with you at the next meeting. With that, everybody, thank you very much. Thanks for watching the Rose Parade and seeing it float itself on TV. We hope you enjoyed that. And again, we can use your help on that. It's a fundraiser that we do all year long. With that, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.